Well, a month ago, the government announced its new rail plan for the North and the Midlands. The integrated rail plan showed that plans to run HS2 trains up to Leeds would now mostly rely on existing lines, and the old HS2 Eastern leg will be scrapped. But despite the publication of the lengthy integrated rail review, ambiguity remains. The government has said all options remain on the table, leaving many of those living along old routes quite confused. Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter, Kevin Larkin, is in Bramley, near Rotherham, for us to explain all of this. Welcome to the programme, Kevin. So, this new route, has it actually been scrapped, as we were told last month, or has it not been?
Well, Tom, it's a very good question. Where I am now, the HS2 trains would be coming through this field you can see behind me. And at the moment, I can't give you a straight answer on that. When the integrated rail plan was revealed last month, we were told that the HS2 Eastern leg, which would have come through here, was scrapped. That led to fury from northern mayors and business leaders who accused the government of betraying the North. But there was celebration from communities like this, thinking they were now out of this nightmare that many of them have been living in for several years. But interestingly, in the small print, the government did say they were going to have a review of how HS2 trains would get into Leeds. Now, most of that route would be going up existing rail lines for Midland Main Line, but they left that door open, and having asked a few more questions about this, the government is saying the reasons they can't lift the safeguarding from this area and remove these homes from being under blight is because they still need the answers on how they're going to get these HS2 trains up to Leeds. So common sense would kind of dictate, wouldn't it, that if they're keeping the safeguarding here while they carry out this review, then therefore this area may end up playing a part in that. So it seems like this route is still an option, at least in theory, at the moment.
So what happens to all those homes and businesses along the route which have been bought, which have been compulsory purchased, as they were due to be demolished for the line? Will they now be demolished?
Well, yeah, so HS2 has bought 450 properties since 2014 along the old HS2 Eastern route between Birmingham and Leeds. And Tom, that is worth a whopping £115 million. Now, what the government has said is that when they make this final decision on this review of how they're going to get the HS2 trains into Leeds, and they can give a definitive answer one way or another, if it's still the case that they don't need the homes here, they'll be sold subject to what they call the Critchell Down rules, where the former owners essentially get first dibs on whether they want to buy their properties back at market value. But having covered this story for 5 years in this area, many of those homeowners who I've spoken to over the years who sold up and have now moved away were very clear that they wouldn't be going back at all, because no matter where they are now and the hassle of moving anyway, they'll always have this niggle that someone has drawn a line on a map saying this area could be there. So even if the blight is lifted and the government says it's not going to happen, many people here will still have that lingering doubt and not want to put themselves in that position.
It seems like there is a huge amount of uncertainty for local people in the area. Has HS2 had anything to say explicitly to them on this whole situation?
Well, HS2 has refused to comment on this story, saying this is a matter for the Department for Transport. A Department for Transport spokesperson has told us, we recognise the impact that HS2 has had on residents on the proposed line, and that's why our compensation schemes go far beyond what the law requires. And it continues, the government has now committed to explore the most effective way to run HS2 trains to Leeds, and it's important we safeguard properties until final decisions are taken. A failure to do so would cost the taxpayer more and cause greater uncertainty for residents.
Well, it's not an ideal situation. It doesn't sound like it's all resolved yet, but I know that you'll keep plugging away at it. Thank you very much, Kevin, for bringing us that update on an interesting story on HS2 there for us this morning on The Briefing.